This is William Shatner for the National Safety Council. Fire safety. It's a significant part of any safety program and an important responsibility for every supervisor. We define safety as the control of recognized hazards to attain an acceptable level of risk. When it comes to fire safety, we're talking about the control of fire hazards, which includes fire prevention and emergency measures. The control of hazards for fire prevention requires continuous attention to housekeeping practices, safe work practices, and regular safety inspections. Emergency measures are important. Everyone should know what to do if a fire does occur. But the most important aspect of your fire safety program is prevention. Motivating your employees to comply with company rules is an important part of their training. The best fire prevention plan can only work if people cooperate. Because of the destructive, deadly potential of fire, compliance with fire prevention rules must be assured. The best place to start is employee education.
Hello, everyone. Looks like we're all here, so let's begin. For the new hires, this is Mark O'Dell. He's a fire protection engineer from our company's insurance carrier. He's helping us with our fire prevention program. He'll be leading our training session today. I'll be assisting him, and I'll also be answering any of your questions that apply to our company's specific rules. So, let's get started.
One of the main fire safety concerns in most industrial environments is the presence of flammable materials. Hazards from gasoline, solvents, dust, and explosives can often be found in the workplace, which is one reason for the strict safety rules against smoking in the plant. A lighted cigarette can provide heat, one of the elements needed to create a fire. Now, there are 4 elements needed in all. Let's talk about them. Fuel, oxygen, heat, and the chemical chain reaction are all needed to create a fire. Anything that will burn can be a fuel. Every fuel has its own ignition temperature, or the amount of heat it needs to catch on fire. In most circumstances, when you combine fuel, enough heat to ignite it, and the oxygen present in the air, the fuel and oxygen will combine in a series of successive intermediate stages called the chemical chain reaction. The result is fire.
So you're saying that even if you have fuel and plenty of heat, a fire won't ignite without oxygen?
That's right. In most cases, oxygen is needed to create a chemical chain reaction that causes and continues a fire, just as fuel and heat are needed. If you remove any of the 4 elements of the fire tetrahedron, the fire will go out. If you keep the elements away from each other, the fire will never get started in the first place. That's what fire prevention is all about.
All right, let's move over here now.
This coffee can isn't really filled with flammable solvent, but let's pretend that it is. The solvent that's inside it would provide a source of fuel for a fire. Now, there's oxygen in the air, and what would the heat source be?
Well, if you were smoking at this workstation, the heat source could come from your cigarette, just like with Craig's friend.
Right, or the heat might come from sparks or metal parts heated by friction when you've been working on them. That's why we don't allow solvents in unapproved containers to be kept at workstations under any circumstances. It's just too flammable. I don't even keep open containers of solvent at home in my garage. That would be sloppy procedure at home, and it's sloppy procedure here too. Safe housekeeping, when it relates to fire prevention, means removing or controlling fuel sources so they don't come into contact with sources of heat. A cigarette is one heat source that can cause industrial fires. No matter how picky it seems to have no smoking rules in various parts of the plant, it's very important that those rules be followed. There might be chemicals or other flammable materials present that you're not aware of. So whether you understand the reasons or not, always follow the no smoking rules. Does anyone know 2 other heat sources that could be responsible for industrial fires?
How about electrical equipment?
Yeah, that's one of them. All kinds of electrical tools and appliances can provide the source of heat for a fire, and they don't have to be broken or faulty. Makeshift wiring and broken equipment is very dangerous, but even a hot light bulb placed next to combustible material is a fire hazard.